Imagine you're on a routine train ride through Tokyo, surrounded by the familiar hustle and bustle, when suddenly everything changes. Time, place, and even your very existence. How do you survive when the world you knew is gone, and all that's left is a haunting, desolate landscape? Buckle up, because this is where the story of Pending Train begins. The story kicks off in Tokyo, where everyone is busy with their day-to-day lives. People are rushing to catch the train, eager to get to work, completely unaware that their lives are about to change forever. As the train departs, passengers settle in, making phone calls and minding their own business, completely oblivious to the fate that awaits them. Then, something strange happens. A bottle cap hanging in the train suddenly vanishes into thin air. This bizarre event is followed by a series of earthquake alerts that send a wave of fear through the passengers. Despite the growing panic, the train doesn't stop. It barrels into a tunnel where, unbeknownst to the passengers, a wormhole has formed. The train enters the wormhole, and everyone on board loses consciousness. When they wake up, the train has stopped, and the passengers, disoriented and frightened, stumble out, only to find themselves in a world they don't recognize. The once bustling cityscape of Tokyo has been replaced by an endless, eerie jungle. The passengers are dumbfounded, trying to comprehend how they could have possibly traveled so far in time. Among them is a man named Naoya Kayashima, who quickly takes charge. In his previous life, he was a firefighter, a man trained to handle emergencies. His instincts kick in as he begins to assess the situation, trying to calm the terrified passengers. Among the group is Yuto Shirahama, a young woman who recognizes Naoya. It's revealed that she has a crush on him, having met him years ago when he taught a firefighting course at her college. Back in 2023, the world is in shock. 2 train carriages have vanished without a trace, and no one can explain how or why. The government scrambles to investigate, focusing on the tunnel where the carriages disappeared. As they search, they spot a strange light emanating from the other side of the tunnel, sparking hope that the missing passengers might still be alive. Meanwhile, Naoya, Yuto, and another passenger decide to venture through the tunnel, drawn by the mysterious light. They believe it might be a rescue party coming for them. On the other side, the government team sees the same light, convinced they've located the missing train. But as the 2 groups converge, they discover something even more terrifying. The light leads to a barren, sun-scorched desert, not the safety they had hoped for. The reality of their situation begins to sink in. They're stranded in a time and place completely foreign to them, with no way to communicate with the outside world. Naoya tries to keep everyone calm, but the tension is palpable. The passengers, hungry and scared, start to realize the gravity of their predicament. Among them is a girl named Sei, who begins searching through the passengers' bags for food. While scavenging, she finds a letter in Naoya's bag, an official letter from a government correctional facility. This discovery leads Sei to believe that Naoya is a dangerous criminal who has somehow orchestrated their situation to blackmail the government. She immediately alerts the others, causing panic and suspicion to spread like wildfire. Despite Naoya's attempts to explain, the passengers turn against him. Overwhelmed, Naoya decides to leave the group, feeling it's better to face the unknown alone than be accused of crimes he didn't commit. As tensions rise, another passenger, a girl named Sakura, steps up to share the fruits she had brought with her, trying to maintain some semblance of peace. But as the group eats, another passenger, Kazuma Katagiri, reviews footage on his phone. He discovers that Sae was the one attempting to steal food from the others' bags, not Naoya. Naoya, now vindicated, decides to head out with Kazuma in search of more food and to bring Naoya back before it's too late. As Naoya Kayashima wanders through the barren landscape, exhaustion takes its toll. He stumbles into a ditch, but just as all hope seems lost, Naoya arrives in the nick of time, pulling him to safety. Grateful but still guarded, Naoya confides in him that he's actually a renowned hairdresser, a detail he had kept to himself even after Reina found that mysterious letter in his bag. The night settles in, And while some passengers manage to sleep, most are too consumed by anxiety to find any rest. By morning, the weight of their situation bears down on them even harder. Despair sets in, as they realize that no one is coming to rescue them. Naoya tries to rally the group, insisting that they will find a way to survive and escape. However, Kayashima becomes frustrated, unable to understand why Naoya is so determined to help everyone. This prompts Naoya to share a story from his past, a painful memory of a friend who suffered a terrible accident that left him with both legs broken. From that day forward, Naoya vowed to help as many people as possible, a promise that drives him to this day. Together they set out to scavenge for supplies, but as they search, Kayashima is haunted by visions of his brother. A flashback reveals Kayashima's troubled past. He grew up in poverty, but through hard work and determination, he became a famous hairdresser, realizing all of his dreams. However, in his pursuit of success, he neglected his younger brother. Left alone, his brother fell into a life of crime, eventually getting arrested. The letter Reina found was not Kayashima's. It belonged to his brother, who was scheduled to be released on bail the very day the train disappeared. Kayashima had been on his way to pick him up, hoping to reconnect and make amends. As the story unfolds, other passengers venture out to explore the surrounding area. Though they find nothing useful, they do spot a towering structure in the distance, a massive tower that was supposed to be completed by 2026, according to advertisements they recall. The sight is unsettling, a stark reminder that they have somehow traveled into the future. A biologist among them also discovers a plant that, according to scientific records, would not bloom for another 30 years. This revelation sends chills through the group, confirming their worst fears. They are stranded in a future where the world has drastically changed. Back in 2023, the mystery of the missing train carriages continues to baffle the authorities. With no leads, the government issues an official statement announcing that 2 train carriages have vanished, taking with them around 100 passengers. The news spreads quickly, but offers no comfort to the families left behind. Meanwhile, in the future, Naoya tries to maintain morale. He and Yuto stretch a plastic sheet over the train's roof to collect any rainwater, trying to prepare for the days ahead. By the next day, the passengers are desperate for water. The biologist mentions that he found a plant nearby that typically grows near waterfalls, offering a glimmer of hope. Naoya, determined to solve the water crisis, sets out with the biologist, Yuto, and Kayashima to locate the waterfall. Their journey leads them to a towering mountain, and they realize water might be found at its peak. They return to the train, fashioning a makeshift rope to scale the mountain. When Naoya finally reaches the top, he finds a freshwater source, a discovery that brings joy and relief to the group, but his triumph is short-lived. From his vantage point, Naoya sees something horrifying, a massive sea where Tokyo once stood. The realization hits him like a tidal wave. Whatever catastrophe struck this world was cataclysmic, leaving nothing but water in its wake. That night, as everyone tries to process this new information, a passenger named Tanaka ventures out alone, searching for something unknown. Suddenly, he's attacked by an unseen assailant. Terrified, he rushes back to warn the others, but his frantic story is met with disbelief. The group is now more divided than ever, as the terror of their situation grows with every passing hour. Just as the passengers believe they're utterly alone in this strange world, a sudden rainstorm surprises them. Elation spreads as they collect the much-needed water, a precious resource in this barren land. The next day, hope seems to grow when the biologist among them discovers edible berries and plants, prompting many to venture out in search of food. However, the joy is short-lived. Yuto, eager to contribute, mistakenly eats poisonous berries, leaving her severely ill. The group's unofficial leader, Naoya, is deeply worried, especially because of his feelings for Yuto. Yuto is brought back to the train car, where everyone works together to nurse her back to health. Her recovery is a reminder that unity is their only chance for survival. Realizing this, they vow to cooperate more closely moving forward. That evening, they gather the food they've collected and share a communal meal, attempting to lift their spirits. But unease lingers. Some of the berries they gathered were mistakenly identified as edible, but are in fact toxic. Kayashima becomes suspicious, convinced that Tanaka, a passenger previously ostracized for stealing, is behind the mix-up. Fueled by anger, she storms off into the forest to confront him. Naoya manages to stop her and volunteers to search for Tanaka himself. The next morning, Naoya returns without Tanaka, but he has retrieved Kayashima's stolen belongings, which Tanaka had lost in the woods. Amidst the tension, the biologist finds evidence suggesting a nearby river, sparking hope that they could fish and secure a sustainable food source. He and a few others set off to find it, but their journey takes a dark turn when an unknown assailant attacks them, leaving one of their group severely injured. When they return, the injured man is treated, but the incident shocks everyone. It's now clear that they aren't alone in this future. Tanaka eventually returns, revealing his past as a security specialist. He offers to set up traps around their camp to protect them from potential threats. Desperate for security, the group agrees to let him stay, even as they remain wary of his motives. Meanwhile, Kayashima finds solace in an old passion. She styles Rina's hair, finding a brief moment of normalcy in the chaos. As night falls, Naoya and Yuto are keeping watch when they spot a child in the distance. They immediately give chase, following the mysterious figure to the riverbank. The child, without saying much, beckons them to follow. They do so, even as the hours pass and night turns into day. Eventually, the child leads them to a fortified settlement where other survivors are living. The camp is heavily secured with traps and walls, a stark contrast to the disorganized and vulnerable state of their own group. The survivors are led by a man named Umoto, who welcomes them, but warns that the world outside is filled with dangers. Naoya confronts Umoto about the attack on their group, and Umoto calls forth the man responsible. The attacker apologizes, explaining that he mistook them for a threat. Naoya is tense, but accepts the apology for now. Umoto reveals crucial information. When his group first arrived, they found a boat with a broken radio. After painstaking repairs, they managed to get a signal, only to learn that they had arrived in the year 2060. The signal, originating from Canada, disclosed that the world was destroyed in 2026. The cataclysm was triggered by a collision between a satellite and an asteroid, leading to a chain reaction that decimated life on Earth. As Naoya inquires further, Umoto admits that the radio signal eventually faded, leaving them in silence ever since. This revelation sends a wave of despair through Naoya, who realizes the enormity of their situation. Upon returning to their own group, Naoya breaks the news. They are stranded in 2060. The passengers are initially shocked but then driven by a desperate hope. Perhaps they can find a way to prevent this future catastrophe. With this new resolve, they begin planning how to return to their own time. But their efforts seem futile, and frustration mounts as days pass without progress. In need of a break, they head to a nearby pond where they finally catch some fish, taking a brief moment to celebrate amidst their dire circumstances. Yet, the clock is ticking, and the looming question remains. Will they find a way to change the past, or are they doomed to witness the end of the world? As the days drag on, Tanaka isolates himself, feeling more disconnected from the group. No one speaks to him properly, and he shows little interest in bonding with others. In his loneliness, he creates a companion out of bushes, a silent friend to talk to. Meanwhile, the rest of the group, determined to maintain some sense of normalcy, construct makeshift bathrooms in Carrot 6, offering a small comfort in their harsh reality. While out foraging, the biologist stumbles upon a strange green stone, sparking curiosity and hope. But Tanaka, ever watchful, witnesses this discovery and rushes to inform Yumoto. Intrigued and alarmed by the potential of these stones to send them back home, Yumoto rewards Tanaka with food and secures his loyalty by promising more in exchange for any further information about the group's activities. Back at the camp, Rina and Yuto engage in a heated argument, which escalates when Rina, in a fit of anger, pushes Yuto into a pit where a corpse is already decaying. The shock ripples through the group, leaving them horrified by the grim discovery. Tanaka, meanwhile, remains detached, quietly eating fish while reading an old newspaper. Tensions rise as Rina and Yuto's conflict escalates into a full-blown attack by the people of Carrot 6. Rina manages to escape, but Yuto is trapped and desperately tries to flee. She eventually finds refuge in a small boat. When Rina informs Naoya of what happened, he immediately rallies Kayashima, and they set off to rescue Yuto. However, by the time they reach the site, Yuto and the members of Carrot 6 are already gone. Yuto, on the run, takes shelter in a boat. Meanwhile, Naoya and his group plan a counterattack on Carrot 6. Yumoto, unaware of the attack, is shocked when he learns of the actions taken by his people. He apologizes profusely to Naoya and vows to find and return Yuto safely. However, Naoya is suspicious, especially after learning about the corpse near Carrot 6's territory. Yumoto then reveals a dark truth about his rise to leadership. When they first arrived in this future, one of their group members became extremely aggressive and terrified. Yumoto tried to calm him, but the situation escalated, leading to Yumoto killing the man in self-defense. The group, shaken by the event, turned to Yumoto as their leader, seeing him as a protector in this dangerous world. With this newfound knowledge, Naoya and Kayashima return to their base to prepare for the impending conflict. They begin crafting weapons, knowing that a confrontation with Carrot 6 is inevitable. At the same time, Yumoto returns to his boat, where he attempts to contact others using a broken radio. Unbeknownst to him, Yuto is hiding in the boat and overhears everything. Yuto soon realizes that Yumoto has been deceiving everyone. His radio's wire is broken, and it's incapable of sending any signals. Confronting him, Yuto learns that Yumoto has no intention of returning to the past. He enjoys his newfound power and status as a leader, something he never had in his previous life. Despite Yuto's threats to expose him, Yumoto ties her up and leaves her, determined to maintain his control. As night falls, Naoya and his allies complete their weapons, mentally preparing themselves for the battle ahead. They know they need a strategic advantage, so 2 members are sent to scout for a secure location where they can regroup after the fight. The next day, the battle between Carrot 5 and Carrot 6 erupts in full force. The conflict is fierce, with both sides suffering heavy losses. In the midst of the chaos, Yuto manages to escape and reaches the battlefield just in time to stop the fighting. She reveals Yumoto's deceit, exposing his lies about the radio and his true intentions. Shocked and betrayed, the survivors listen as Yumoto tries to justify his actions. He explains that he lied to keep hope alive, fearing that if the group lost faith in their ability to return home, they might resort to suicide. This revelation leaves the group divided. Some understand Yumoto's reasoning, while others feel deeply betrayed. Naoya, however, sees the value in keeping hope alive and reluctantly agrees with Yumoto's approach. But the trust in Yumoto is shattered, and the group must now navigate their future with the knowledge that even those they trust most may not have their best interests at heart. At this pivotal moment, Yumoto makes a surprising decision. He relinquishes his leadership. Before leaving, he places a diary in the ship filled with crucial information about how Earth met its demise in 2026. Meanwhile, the 2 explorers who had ventured out in search of shelter make a remarkable discovery. A towering structure surrounded by green stones, hinting at a mysterious power. The narrative shifts back to 2023, where we meet Ray, a scientist investigating the disappearance of the train carriages. It's revealed that at the time of the disappearance, a wormhole had formed in the tunnel due to a supernova explosion, a phenomenon that occurs when a dying star releases an immense amount of energy. This event linked the timeline of 2023 with 2060, creating the wormhole that pulled the passengers through time. In 2060, amidst a growing storm, One of the passengers explains the supernova phenomenon to the others. The storm intensifies, forcing everyone back into the train carriage that initially brought them to 2060. As the storm rages, Tanaka, feeling desperate, decides to enter the tunnel from which the train emerged. Opening the emergency gate, they venture into the tunnel and discover the wormhole, slowly drawing in lighter objects around it. In a poignant moment, the doll Tanaka created to combat his loneliness is sucked into the wormhole. Realizing the storm's connection to the wormhole, the group understands that once the storm subsides, the wormhole will close. The scene cuts back to 2023, where a detective stands at the spot where Tanaka's doll vanished into the wormhole, intrigued by this mysterious occurrence. Back in 2060, Sam and his friends come to a crucial realization. If they want to recreate the wormhole, they'll need a solenoid object and a power source. Their search leads them to an underground power station, long buried and devoid of any identifying marks. After hours of labor, they manage to excavate the power station and gather the necessary materials. Returning to the train carriage, they prepare to use one corner of the box as a makeshift solenoid. As they channel electricity into it, a wormhole begins to form, filling the group with hope. One by one, they pass through the wormhole, but Tanaka, choosing solitude, decides to stay behind. The others say their farewells and board the train, which enters the wormhole as the storm outside subsides. When they emerge on the other side, they find themselves in 2026, just as Earth is on the brink of destruction. Shocked and disoriented, they knock on a door and are met with disbelief when they explain their situation. Most people assume they are either lying or intoxicated, dismissing their claims of time travel. News of the train's mysterious reappearance spreads quickly, but skepticism remains. However, a medical examination of the passengers reveals that they are indeed the same people who vanished in 2023. While some around the world begin to believe their story, others view them as mentally unstable. Ray, the scientist from earlier, learns of their return and immediately seeks them out, knowing the danger the Earth faces. Another passenger, who holds a high position in government and is extremely wealthy, takes matters into her own hands. She contacts the defense minister, who confirms that they are already working on a solution to the impending asteroid impact. The plan involves launching a missile to deflect the asteroid and alter its trajectory. Relieved by this information, the woman shares the news with the rest of the group, bringing them some much-needed hope. The day of reckoning arrives, and the world holds its breath as the military launches the missile. The tension is palpable as they watch the news, anxiously waiting to see if humanity will be saved. Finally, the news breaks. The mission is a success. The missile strikes the asteroid, changing its course and saving the planet. The group erupts in celebration, their relief and joy uncontainable. And with that, the series draws to a close. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, and give the video a thumbs up. I'll be back with more exciting recaps and explanations soon. Until then, take care and see you next time.